Let's get back to the session. Now, before proceeding, let me close the previous instances. Now, I am going to design a process which is going to run n number of times. Okay? To design a process which is going to run n number of times, what I need? I need few parameters that I am going to design. I need my script task, where the initiation of my value should take place. That should be, let me type as num. Let me put it like an 1 and let me assign it to my variable. What is happening? To num. And it should be of type number, integer. And for the time being, I'm not making it as parameterized, okay? 1. And let me put it like a value as 0. Okay? Now, declare values. Declare values. Now, after declaring a value, I need an incremental counter. Increment counter, where I am going to increment my values. So here I am going to increment my values. I am going to put it as num and I am going to put it as pv bang num plus 1. Means whatever value it has, I am going to increase that value by 1. Here we go. Now after increasing that value, I am going to put an XOR gateway here. XOR gateway, which is going to check if num is less than batch size. Okay, and what is my batch size? Let me do one thing. Let me create a new variable here. I think we are done with this thing. Let me put here batch size as 1000, because I would like to first test my process that it can run 1000 times or not. BS batch size, because if I'm going to implement a solution, I need to be verified whether it is going to work that times or not. It means BS is less than 10,000, BS is less than 1000, because we know that for any looping function, not we have learned for parent child, the limit is 100. But for looping function, we know that MNI runs for 1000 times and we know that custom we can run for n times. But let us first verify whether it runs or not. So I'm going to put it like here. My PV bang num is less than, PV bang num is less than, what is it as an index of rule bang PWS entry values, comma, batch size, comma, null. Now what is my batch size? Batch size is my 1000. And here we go. If it is less than 1000, very good. If it is less than 1000, if it is less than 1000, what I am going to do? I am going to increase the counter. But if it is not less than 1000, I am going to proceed towards the end node. Let me type less than batch size greater than batch size. I'm not going to use activity chaining because for this particular purpose, I don't want my system to have that, because we are not doing that big task. Okay. Let me verify. Okay. Okay, let us define. If it is less than, then go to increment counter. But if it is not, let's go to end node, and we are done. And okay, let me define the data management here. Delete process after 1 day, and alerts. Let me set alerts simply here to the process model owner or process model initiator. That's fine. In the real world, we assign it to groups. Okay, we are done here. Everything looks good. Here, everything looks good. Everything looks good. And also, Let me do one thing. Let me define the start date and end date here. So I can know, okay, this particular process has been started on this date and ended on this date. Data output. Now, now. We had learned in our previous session. What will now give me? What will now give me? Now will give me the date and time. But is it actually which I need? No, I need it specific to my time zone. So I'm going to use locale, comma, IST. We have seen this in playing with our, dynamic reporting framework, GMT, that how with the different time zones we are able to play. And here we go. Now I can see my date and time here. I'm going to put this thing here, and this will become my start date time, start date time, which will be my date and time. Very good. And once my process is completed, I'm also again going to capture the same thing. Script as capture and date time properties, data output, and this will become my end date time. And okay, and looks okay. Now for the process dynamic display name, I have used a function here called as process display name. I will open the process display name and based upon my start date and end date, I'm going to put my start date and end date here. Okay, and I'm going to play this thing from here. Let me click on save. This looks a pretty straightforward expression rule. Based upon my start date and end date, I'm going to proceed from here. Let me click on OK. Okay, let me close this one. This is the old process. Let me close this one. This is, we know what is the batch size. Let me close this one, and here we go. But let me also create one custom function, which I'm going to put it here so I can know the traces of that function. So let me do one thing. Let me create an activity task here. Because activity to perform, to handle set of activities to run. I will click on create. I will click on save. Now, the only task of this activity is to capture the instance number. Means, go to data management, delete after 1 day, alerts, okay, variables, add variable, num, number, integer, parameterized, okay, general, activities to perform, concat, text, pv bang num, comma, 000, comma, activities to perform, ATP. Okay, that's it. Activities to perform. ACTIVITIESTOPERFORM. Activities to perform. And here we go. Click on save and close. And we are done with this particular process. File. Save and publish. I'm going to utilize this process activity inside my parent process now. I'm going to utilize this activity here. That is PWS activities to perform. And I'm going to put it here. And what does this need? It need the number integer which I'm going to pass it as num. That's it. I'm going to pass it as num, and we are done with my first part. It needs an expression for a dynamic name thing. Let me use it here. Rule bank PWS process display name. Its parameters input a bank map. What does it takes? It takes these all parameters. It takes start date, end date, and here we go. It takes this thing. It takes start date, end date, and here we go. Now let me click on save and close, and let me proceed forward, and let me click on validate. Everything looks good. Everything looks perfectly good here. Now I'm going to run this particular. I'm going to run this particular process. Let me validate, and let me file, save and publish. Now, what is my batch size? My batch size is 1000. Let me do one thing. Let me try by running my batch size as 2. Let me first try with 2. It's working or not. If not, then we will fix. Then we will try to trigger it by 1000. Okay. Let me go to my instances. Do we have any instances left? Very good. Let me trigger this particular process. If I come here and I see, okay, 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 very good. Means it has triggered 2 processes. My number is 2, 1 and 2. Now I am going back again. Which activity we had seen here is it has triggered it 2 times. It means if I'm going to make it as 1000, if I'm going to make it as 1000, it means the moment I make it 1000 is going to run for 1000 times. Let me click on save. Let me come back here. Let me again trigger this process. I know this is going to take a little bit of time, but believe me, it is going to save a lot of our time in the further processes. Let me remove these old processes from here. Okay. Now we can see that it is triggering the processes. How each and every individual process is getting triggered. Now it will take a little bit amount of time to run. That we will also be able to capture it here because we have done it in this way. Okay. We will also be able to capture this thing. We can see that we have the instance is 10. It has started on this much time, and it will when the end date will come means 1000 instances will be completed. It will be shown here. Now, what is my next step to be performed? This up to this thing, I believe everyone is clear. What we are trying to do here is we are just trying to run a custom looping function here, which is going to take my incremental parameter here, and which is going to hit this incremental parameter, and it is going to run now. Now, the moment we are done with this thing, I am also going to take one more extra parameter, and I am going to say that parameter is counter. Correct? And what I am going to do is I am going to call this function recursively after it is completed. Means till now in this process I was calling other processes. Till now in this particular process I was calling this particular process. Correct? This particular process in which a set of activities need to be included. But now what I'm going to do, I'm in this particular process, I'm going to call the main process. It means I need a trigger event that when should I call this particular process. So to call this particular process, before calling this process, I need an value so that I can know my previous process has been implemented. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to declare the values as parameterized variables. I'm going to make number as parameterized variable, and at the same time, I'm also going to make a different variable called as counter. You can say it like C. Number integer, and I'm also going to make this parameters counter, and these values are going to be dynamically created and accepted, which means the moment I go here, this value should not like this. It will look like if is null or empty of PV bank num, then zero, else, then zero, else what it should be? It should be PV bank num, correct? If it is zero, then zero, else it should be PV bank num. And same thing I'm going to do with my counter, that is if is null or empty of PV bank counter, then it is 1, else it is PV bank counter. Classic use case. And I am going to store this value inside my counter. Just a second. And I'm going to use this particular value inside my counter. So till now, everything is clear. Now, once we have declared, once we have declared the counter, means once we have declared our values here, that is my counter values here, I am going to check what I am going to increment here. What I'm going to increment here? I am going to increment not only my, I'm not only my, what do we say, the number, but also I am going to increment my counter here. Okay, it means my counter would, new counter would look something like, wait, it is going to come here. No, I'm not going to increase my counter here. Okay, my counter will come here, my counter will be declared, it will go here, it will go here, it will go here. Then once the logics or something is completed here based upon my counter, then I am going to declare my thing here. Okay, let me do one thing. Let me put it here. It will look much good. Let me put it something like this. Uh, greater than batch size. If it's greater than batch size, then it will come here. Very good. Uh, we are going to decide it here. If it is greater than batch size, it is going to come here. Now, the moment it has came here. Now here we are going to decide. Here we are going to decide that I am going to increase my counter value. Here I am going to decide that I am going to increase my counter value. So I am going to put my value here. Increment, update, counter value. Now, update counter value. Now, what is my update of counter value? It is PV bank counter plus 1. Now, this is going to be my new counter. Perfect. This is going to be my new counter. Greater than back side, then it is going to come here. Now here I am going to update my counter. Now once my counter is updated, now let me show you something here. Okay, we have a total of how many instances? We have a total of 2060 into 60 into 24, that is something around 86,400 instances. How many seconds we have in a minute? We have around 60 seconds in a minute. How many minutes we have in an hour? We have around 60 minutes in an hour. How many hours we have in a day? We have around 24 hours in a day. That brings us to this thing. Now, we have specialized in, running 1000 instances, which brings us to something around 86.4. Now we don't have something called 86.4, so I am going to run it for 87 times. Now my counter value is going to be 87, and this 87 is less than 100. What is my 100? 100 is my value that a parent cannot have child greater than 100. So hope I am clear. So I am going to declare my values here as counter as C. I'm going to put it like 87. Obviously, in this demonstration, I'm not going to run it 87 times. So we are going to lower the batch size, and then we will lower the batch size and lower the counter size. Then we are going to run our flow. So here we go. Let me click on save. C represents counter. Okay. Now update counter value. Now after the updation of counter value is completed, I'm going to again check whether, same thing here, whether it's greater or it's lesser. If it is greater, then I am going to go with the flow. If it is lesser, then I am going to again go with the flow. Correct? If it is greater, then again I'm going to go with the flow. Now, which flow I am going to go with? This time I am not going to call a different process. Instead, I am going to call the same process. So I will be using previously we use start process. This time I will show you with the sub process. Concept remains a little bit of different of tweak, but I expect you to know these things. What is my process model name? PWS custom trigger scheduler. Got it. Let me click on OK. I'm going to put it here. And there we go. I'm going to use a script task. And there we go. There we go. Correct. I'm going to use a script task, but end node is remaining. So I'm going to put the end node here because it is going to be very useful for me. Now I'm going to combine this script task from here to my end node. And there we go. I'm going to combine this task to my end node, and here we go. Now, what I'm going to do it here, I'm going to write end date time. Here also it is going to my end date time, and we have declared our end date time as from here. Save and close, and here goes my end date time. Perfect, perfect. Let me click on validate. Very good, very good, very good. I would say here PV bank counter is less than equals to index of rule bank PWS entry values comma C no, it's C comma null, and very good. Click on save. If that's so is going to happen, it's going to less, if that's going to happen, it's going to be greater. If it is lesser, if it is less than or now, then I'm going with a less. If it is 10, I'm going with a greater, and it makes sense. Let me validate. And here, everything looks good. Everything looks good here. Now I am going to file. I am going to publish this process model. Now, once my process model is published, let me go back to my instances, which we triggered old for the previous one. Right now, it's still 343 instances. So I believe it will take a little bit of more time. By the meantime, let us try to decode what we have done here is. So if I go here and show you the instance, AWS custom trigger. So this was the one. This was a process which we triggered, correct? In this process, we learned about how we declare the values after incrementing with a counter. And here is something which we were learning, a custom looping function. Then we evolved this particular process, and then we ran the instances of this process to check out whether this process whose instances are less than 1000 is working or not. And yes, we can see here that instances are still in the running phase, and they have reached till 368, 369 instances. And also, if I try to calculate, okay, the AMU is also pretty under control, and we have this processes here. Okay, now the instances run, and how many are there now? We customize this particular process from version 2, and right now we are at version 3, where we upgraded this thing, and instead of this thing, we added an incremental value called as counter. Now, what we are going to do here is, we are going to run through a custom, custom iterations of this function before iterating it there. Okay, so what is going to happen is, I'm going to declare the values here. Okay, values are getting declared. Then it's going to incremental. The number is going to be get incremented here. Once the number is incremented, it is going to here. And if it is less than batch size says 1000. Batch size says 1000. Okay, 1000, it means it is less than 1000, it is go here. If it is 1, the moment it becomes more than 1000, it is going to update a counter. My counter was 1. The moment it came here, my counter became 2. The moment my counter became 2, yes, my counter is less than 87, yes. The moment my counter is less than 87, it says, yes, it is less than 87, it is going to come here. Now, the moment it came here, for my previous process, I have my end date, but now, it is going to come here. Come here means which process is this thing? This process is my same process. Now the value of n, my value of n is 1001. My value of counter is 2. It will came here. It will check whether the incremental counter. Okay, it is going to increase my value, or it is going to increase my value of 1001. It is going to come here. Check if number is less than 1001 is less than 1000. Yes. Okay. So what we need to do here is, we need to also add a condition that now batch size is into PV bank counter. PV bank counter. Yes. Into PV bank counter. Yes. We also need to check, because after first iteration, my PV is going to be 1 and it is going to be 2. Now I need to check whether this by batch is 2000, whether 2000 is less, whether 2000 is, whether 1001 is less than 2000 or not. Yes. Then I'm going to increment a counter. It goes here and everything goes here, and same thing happens. Let's suppose for the last instance, it came here till 85,000, 86,000. It came here 86 into 86,000, 86,000. It is less. Perfect. I believe it should work perfectly fine. Let me click on file, save and publish. So this will become my base understanding for the question that how many times or how many less times we can create or run our trigger. Correct? As you can see, my instances are still in the running phase. Let's take a quick break and we will come back here once my instances are completed. Or let's try to understand a little bit more about this thing, and let's try to close the process. Close process. This is basically my dummy task. I have used it for the redirection, and here we go. Now, the things which we need to have it here is, what you can do is, you can add a timer here. You can you can add a timer there. You can add a timer there. That is something which we are going to do in next couple of minutes. So till now, if you want to, if you would like to revise anything, go back. Feel free to do. We will take a short break of 1 or 2 minutes, and then we will proceed from here.